Some transformational journeys can lead you to a career change or to pick up a new hobby or to move countries. But some can actually lead you to a secluded cabin in the woods. In fact, my guest today is doing that right now, and I want to hear all about it. So hello and welcome to Creativity Uncovered. My name is Abi Gatling, and I am on a journey to uncover how everyday people find inspiration, get inventive, and open their imagination. Basically, I want to know how people find creative solutions at home, at work, at play, and everything in between. And then my goal for the podcast is actually, by the end of it, is that you will be armed with a whole suite of tried and tested ways to summon creativity the next time that you need it. So today, I'm very excited to be welcoming Willow. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting.
Oh, I'm so glad you've given up part of your time in this beautiful space that you're in to talk to me. And because I mentioned that you're in a cabin in the woods, taking some time out. And before we go there, because I definitely want to talk about that, it's a really interesting thing. But I want to chat about your creativity because you are an electronic music producer. You do sound healing. You've got a course. You're doing all these things. Very interesting combination. I want to talk about uh, what is your type of creativity and like where did creativity first start for you?
Hmm. I think I was a creative person since I was very young. I was raised in Poland and I moved to Canada when I was about 10 years old. And I remember meeting my half sister for the first time. And she saw that I only had like 10 crayons. And it was kind of like weird for her because she had like packs of 60, from Canada, from like a, first world country. And she was always very amazed how I could make such creative things with such little resources. So I think that it was always like something very special. I had this special gift of being creative with little amount of stuff. And today I definitely develop different techniques to spark my creativity, but also to keep it going because I feel like when we get older in our life, there's something that happens and we lose that spark, we lose that connection to this effortless just creation when we were children. So I am kind of on this quest right now to try to find these ways of reigniting that. And that's why I'm here a little bit today, I mean, this month in this cabin trying to like find these ways of reconnecting with that child self.
Oh, so true. I think as children, we that's what you do is create. Everything's new for the first time and you're not afraid to try stuff and test it out. And then yeah, we do lose that somewhere along the way. It's wild.
Absolutely. And I definitely found myself losing it. I think it's that moment when this awareness of being seen and this awareness of being observed, and even when our parents have the tendency to tell us, you're doing good, keep going, it kind of stays with us and we spend our life almost like becoming self-conscious. Is what we're doing actually good? Is it serving the world? And does it have a specific significance for us and for others? We just overcomplicate everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's had that switch from being creative for yourself and just exploring to then doing it to display it to someone else or to share it with someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Love it. We're getting deep already. I love it. 2 minutes in. That's a record. That's a record. So, I mean, you're talking about moving countries and your half sister pointing out the pencils to you. Was that your first inclination that someone else external is actually looking at the way that you're being creative?
Probably, probably. But I had I still have a very lovely but intense mother who, she always wanted me to be perfect and to do everything perfectly. And as much as she, pointed out the good things that I was doing, she was also pointing out the things that I wasn't doing good. But something that I want to bring up here is that there's something that happens also when we're children, and we call them imprints. So let's say someone tells you, "Oh, wow, you're so smart. You're always the smartest person in the room." And it's almost like you spend the rest of your life trying always to match, that feeling of like, "Oh, I am the smartest person in the room." So I think that my mother played a big role in this, in actually telling me that I was good at something, that I felt that I had to keep up that impression or that standard.
Yeah. And so how did that play out in your childhood?
I think it was a lot of self-consciousness at some point that came in, of being like, you have to be really good at what you're doing. You have to be perfect, or it's not worth even trying.
Oh,
And what that made me believe is that for years, with music specifically, because I used to mostly draw, that was like visual arts was my thing. For a very long time, I didn't feel worthy of even trying to play music because I felt like I wouldn't be good enough.
mm.
So for years, I deprived myself from trying. Um, and it took me like kind of a near death experience to get to that point where I was like, I have to do it. Time is ticking. I'm not getting any younger. And I just need to jump and do it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're basically focusing on your, I suppose, visual arts, but you were pining for musical creativity. And the near-death experience, what was that? Tell me about that.
Wow. So that was about 7, 8 years ago. I'm standing in a parking lot in Southern California after a whole day going from one bar to the next, trying to find my new job. And I'm waiting for this guy called Jesse, who I met earlier that day, and he was supposed to help me find my new job. So he rolls up in his blue sports car, and as I open the door and we start chatting, I'm like, wow, what a nice guy. Taking the time out of his day to help me find a job. I was delighted. Literally, a minute later, he slams on the gas, and I can sense that something in him has shifted. And I start feeling very unsafe. So I have no seat belt, and as he's rolling around doing donuts, I'm like, why? Another guy, another human being just trying to show off. And then I look up and I can see this wall that we are speeding towards. And there's no way that we are going to make the turn. And that's when I hear this voice that says, surrender, let go. If you don't, you are going to die.
Gosh.
And I get all these flashbacks of all these moments that I didn't share my voice. All these moments I was invited to play in jams, invited to, share my music. All these opportunities that I said no instead of saying yes. All these moments that I could have just stepped up and really step into this person that I wanted to be, but I was just completely, my life was run by fear. So, next thing you know, I'm being pulled out of the car, and there's just this lady who's looking at me so intensely. And she's like, don't move, don't touch your face. You have been in a terrible accident. And I feel nothing. I'm completely numb. I can just taste blood in my mouth, see it all over my hands, and looking at the completely totaled car against the wall, money flying everywhere. But that day completely changed the trajectory of my whole life. From that point onwards, I knew that I had to step up and really declare myself as an artist and go all in on that journey. And honestly, it didn't happen overnight. And it was definitely not my first wake up call, but I did it. I declared myself as an artist, and I stepped up and I started saying yes to life. and specifically saying yes to play. And
Mm.
today I am not only a happy artist that is creating and sharing its gift, but I'm also absolutely passionate about helping people reclaim their inner artist and remove those barriers that are sabotaging them and following their dreams.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, what an intense wake up call. I bet you wish you had something that was slightly less painful than that one. But I mean, that sounds like it completely pushed your creativity in a whole another direction. And did you start exploring your musicality more after that?
Yes, yes, exactly. I feel like before I tried playing guitar, I had all the programs on my computer to make music, but I just was still completely in that fear, sabotaging myself continuously, saying no to opportunities. But after that moment, I this is when I went to Central America and I had this amazing experience with tribes in the jungle where I received this message that I was supposed to work with sound. And I knew that
Oh,
I loved music, but it wasn't like you should be on a stage performing, you should be working with sound. And I had no idea what that meant at the time, like at all. And 2 weeks later, I met this guy. Like, imagine he's walking in a jungle with a suitcase full of singing bowls. And I was like, what the hell are these? I knew singing bowls, but I didn't knew that we could use them in such a way. And he ended up giving me my first sound healing course. And that completely changed my life. And sound healing not only saved me from this overthinking, but also gave me an avenue to explore music in a different modality. So today I can be a lot more free in it and use my voice and help people also to, relax. And it's a very beautiful journey.
wow. That's really interesting because I guess like a lot of the time when people think about having like being called to music and to explore music, it is usually for performance purposes, but you've gone down another avenue. What is what is sound healing and what sound bowls? Those you tell me a little bit about that. I'm very novice in this area.
Yeah, of course. So sound therapy is a therapy based on different frequencies, which different instruments emit different frequencies. We're talking more about the drony instruments, which means that they will particularly have a specific note, but they're more there to just bombard our brain with all the frequencies possible, as many as possible. Instead of giving you a phrase, like when you're playing guitar, people can attach to a melody. But we want your brain to be like, I don't understand anything, therefore I'm shutting down. And that's the goal. The goal is to shut people's brain down and help them really get into a space of recuperation where your body can start doing some very important repair that it can't be done while you are in fight flight mode, when you are in stress mode. The body is shutting down a lot of vital functions when it feels like you're in a threat, which most humans in today's world are constantly in a state of fight and flight, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So, sound healing is really there to shut down the brain, relax your body, and give you the ability to start recuperating and resetting your nervous system.
Wow. So what does that look like? How does that what does that look like when you're helping someone with your sound healing?
So we have two types of usually of sessions. We have group sessions or private sessions. And it usually looks like me playing singing bowls, metal bowls on people's bodies. So you have the direct frequency on your chest, on your stomach, or around. So this type is very, very powerful because some people have the belief that those frequency can heal, you on an energetical level. But there's also a physical level physical component where sometimes they can be something literally stuck on the physical level, as I said, right? So the vibrations can really soothe the tissue. So it's like it's as much as it's energetical level, it's physical as well. And I also play sounds around the person, which helps, as I said previously, really the release. So when we have a group session, we have about between 4 to 30 people, maybe sometimes even 100, lying on their backs or on their bellies, in a beautiful space. And I am usually in the middle or in the front, providing the music.
That's very cool. And I mean, such a different avenue for music. Do you still find it to be a creative pursuit in that sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I really believe that every sound therapist is an artist at heart, and every one of them brings their own flavor to it, right? Like I work a lot with electronic production as well. So I have my electronic production playing in the background while I play acoustic instruments on top of that, using my voice, also singing live. So there's a lot of room for creativity in terms of how do you bring your sound to the people. It's not really about the music, but how you show up and how do you weave it together to create an experience that people can relate to. I'll give you an example. Sometimes you can use very simple tools like chimes, and it can give someone an extremely deep experience because he remembers the sound of these chimes from his grandma's porch. And it reminds you of that time in your life when you felt at peace or you felt excited or you had that family around you. So you never really know what type of instrument or sound can trigger someone. And we're kind of looking for these triggers.
Wow. So you're trying these different sounds or ways of producing sound to try and resonate with different things within people.
Exactly.
Wow. And do people come in ahead of time and give you any indication of that? Or are you just having to try and do it by feel?
No, I do it by feel because very often people don't remember the sounds that are so significant for them. So before the age of 2, we have something called the emotional memory, but we don't have like functional memory. However, because our ears are the first ones that are getting developed in our womb, we start picking up on sound very quickly, even before we can see properly, right? When we're born. So we remember sounds, but we don't remember them fully. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's in your emotional memory. So often people don't even know why they are reacting. I look at people lying on the floor and I can see them twitching to certain sounds, but they are in a state of a trance, so they don't even know that they're doing that,
Wow.
you know? Hmm.
So do you have to unpack this sort of stuff after the session to be like, okay, yeah, you were twitching, you were reacting to this. Let's talk about that. Or how does that work?
It depends. If I have a private session, I can touch on it because often it can be related to a certain blockage in a certain area of your body, whether if it's on a physical level or on an energetical level. However, because we are not using psychedelics or we're not using any substances, I feel like the person can do their own integration with journaling. So, I can give you journal prompts and you can kind of try to look at what you saw because people always have visions. There's always people who come to their minds or places or events or arguments, maybe potentially. So, journaling with oneself, I feel like it's one of the most powerful tools to go through an experience like that. But as I mentioned, if we do a private session, we can go a little bit in depth and be like, well, your right hand was twitching a lot. Can you think of why that was a thing? So we do sometimes go deeper into it.
Yes, okay. And you mentioned before about you're passionate about helping people reclaim their inner artist. Is that through this sound healing? Is that one of the outcomes that could potentially come out of one of these sessions?
Um, it could. It very much could. You can have a spiritual experience, about really wanting to reconnect with a part of yourself. But the work with the creatives that I do, it's a course. I take people through an 8-week program where we really dive deep into understanding 3 critical steps, 3 critical principles. And these principles are understand chaos, access flow, and make your art. So these are really important in order to remove all the barriers that are really standing in between you and your dreams.
Okay. So when did this course come about? Was this before or after the sound healing entered your life?
It was after the sound healing
Oh,
because sound healing really gave me the ability to step up and become the person that I was born to be. And later I realized that I was not the only one struggling with this, that it was actually an epidemic of people forgetting why they're here, people forgetting their child self, excited, creative, inspired, and for some reason, having a very difficult time reconnecting with that part of them. So, this is like the first third of the course is really understand chaos. So, what is chaos, right? Chaos can be a lot of things. It could be that your house is a mess, your relationships are difficult. You keep repeating old patterns, and despite efforts, you keep coming back to the default mode. And that can manifest as a lot of different things, like adrenal fatigue, depression. You might be in a health crisis. It can really represent a lot of things. However, the important thing to remember about chaos is that if you understand it and you're able to transform it, you can make incredible art from it because it's your unique story. So you're not only, processing all these feelings, but you're also sharing them with the world so that others can get inspired and moved by your work. So this is something that I went through, and I felt like it was so important to help people through this process that I decided to create this course.
yes. So drawing on that chaos to help fire your creativity.
Exactly, exactly. And really making it work for you and not against you. Because at the
Mm.
end of the day, everybody has a story. Everybody has some important things that have happened to them, and they are gifts, and they're so unique. So to use that as your fuel for your art is like the most powerful thing that you can use. Because at the end of the day, you can go to a art store and you can get all the most amazing supplies. You can get all the most amazing marketing tools, but nobody will ever be able to take your story away from you and copy that. So you can be sure that your art will always be super unique.
I like that. It's true. It's like, yeah, you can get all the materials in the world, but unless you sort of know how to put it together, it can be without meaning.
Exactly.
Mm. So the artists or the people who are coming through your course, are they on a path to reclaiming their artistry, as in music, or is it any particular type of creativity that they're working towards?
No, it's anything that you have been putting on the back burner in your life. And that could be, it's been 10 years I've been trying to write this book and I keep coming to the same barriers. You could be, reconnecting with knitting or painting or making music. It could be really anything that has to do with creativity. Where, as I said, for some reason, you just can't get to it. And a lot of people have a lot of different reasons why, and that's why this course really tackles a lot of different issues. So we first try to remove the mud, and then second in the second half, We're trying to access flow and really give people a way of reconnecting to that channel from which they can create amazing work. So, developing routines, developing different rituals, understanding the psychology of flow. Because you see, like in my personal experience, I waited for inspiration to happen for 15 years. And the reality is, it never came. I had to step up and create it for me. I had to cultivate and activate my state of flow. And there is psychology behind it. It's not a random happening. So that's why the second segment is like a very important one as well.
Yes. So sort of taking control of your creativity and finding what works best for you. Is that what's part of it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because a lot of artists, they're wait around. It's like, oh, I need to wait for the inspiration to come, you know? Oh, I get this 5 minutes and you go and you scribble something. But if you want to make, start, continue, and finish a project, you need to learn how to cultivate that state and make a routine and a ritual out of it. Otherwise, you're gonna be chasing a dragon and you'll never really get there.
Has that led to why you are currently in a cabin in the woods right now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I just needed this time of solitude. And to be 100% transparent, I have never been alone for so long in my life. I have always been surrounded by people, family, friends. So actually, like the first week, I was kind of scared
Of
because
course.
it's an old house and it creaks and it cracks and there's wind outside and I have to heat up the house with a fire downstairs and the logs are falling. I can just hear all of that. But it has been deeply transformational to remove all distractions completely. It's like you and your art and nothing to come in between. It has been very, very healing.
Yeah. So what has prompted you to do this?
Um, I just needed to experience a moment of non-distraction. I have a very high level of ADHD, and I live with beautiful people in Montreal at the moment. And I love them. And I love waking up in the morning and just chatting and seeing how everybody's doing. And I found myself actually to be leaking a lot of energy. And it wasn't because of them, it was absolutely because of me, because I get so excited. So I would spend all this time surrounded by people in the morning, and at 2 p.m., I would be exhausted. So, for anybody who has ADHD out there, monitoring your morning output of energy will allow you to keep going for longer during the day. So I am able to be here right now and I can work from 9 a.m. to 6, 7, 8, sometimes not even 9 p.m. and I am still functional.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you have found your flow and what works for you.
Yeah, totally. And really finding how to navigate through your levels of energy. I think that's a very important one.
Yes. So at the end of this month, when you've had your period of, seclusion, what do you want out of this? What are you hoping for some learnings that you can take back to your regular life to help manage your energy? Or is this a creative pursuit? What are you looking for this in this experience?
Well, first of all, I was working on an album.
Oh,
I
okay.
realized that definitely 1 month is not enough. So I still have a lot of work to do. But something that I can bring back with me is definitely prioritizing the importance of solitude and spending time with myself and journaling to
Mm.
really get all of the thoughts out on paper. Um, that has been very, very healing for me because I have a very racy mind. And when your mind is running all the time, when you have an outlet to put it on paper, then you can move on with a little bit of a clearer vision. So you sleep better. When you wake up, you can write everything down, and then your day is a little bit clearer as well, clearer of overthinking.
Mm. Wow. So it's been helping you make those practices and those rituals in your life.
Exactly.
I love it. You're practicing what you preach. It's fantastic. So
It's
tell
not
me,
easy.
yeah, I was going to say, tell me about, you mentioned you're recording an album. Tell me about that.
So I am trying to record music because I have been playing everything live. You know, all of my sound beds, everything is always live. And I've had a lot of requests from people being like, can I just listen to something that you make like when I'm in my bed at night, when I'm about to go to sleep, or when I wake up in the morning? So I'm trying to create something that people can come to when they're not able to attend my sound bath, something that they can come to when they need extra support. So I'm mainly going into mantras, longer kind of compositions, maybe 7-15 minutes, where people can just put that on their head and, you know, kind of dive into it. I'm working also on some acoustic compositions with my guitar and just my voice, recording my sound bowls, different things. I'm even working on an electronic music, like a festival kind of song, like more like techno song. So I have so many different avenues. I feel like my album is going to be all over the place. But it comes from every kind of part of me that I really cherish, that I want to give space to and explore a little bit more.
Yes. I like the variety in that it's you're not sort of pigeonholing yourself into one particular thing. You've got these expressions that are wanting to come out and you're allowing that to happen.
Exactly, yeah. It's really important for me to just live out what wants to come out. I feel like a lot of artists that I've met in my life and my experience, you know, they do this one thing and it works, it sells, um, and they just keep doing the same thing while I know that they have a lot of different avenues, but they just don't have maybe sometimes the courage to step outside of the box, outside of what's been working. So I'm trying to like breach those gaps and really expand as much as I can.
Yes. And are you getting the calling to do any of your visual art, or has that now you've not readdressed that since childhood?
Oh, I have absolutely, absolutely. It's just a real struggle to find time. So I'm really working hard right now on reprioritizing, so that I have more time to invest into all sorts of different art forms. But for now, I have to say that I can't fit it in. I can't split myself too thin.
Absolutely. That's good. You're protecting your energy levels. I love that. That's exactly what you're there for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving us this little insight into your journey and your transformation with your creativity. It's been wonderful to hear about it. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. I'm so happy to have been here with you.
And thank you to everyone who has tuned in to this episode of Creativity Uncovered. I really hope that this has helped you in some way. And if you enjoyed it, feel free to share it with a friend or jump on and give us a rating or review so other people can help find this conversation. And until next time, take care. If you've made it this far, a huge thank you for your support and tuning into today's episode. Creativity Uncovered has been lovingly recorded on the land of the Cubby Cubby people, and we pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging. This podcast has been produced by my amazing team here at Crisp Communications, and the music you just heard was composed by James Gatling. If you liked this episode, please do share it around and help us on our mission to unlock more creativity in this world. You can also hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episode releases.